This documentary is based on public records. It uses official investigations and credible research. Case File 00 Cooper hijacking. November 24, 1971. One mystery. The story officially begins at approximately 2 p.m. on November 24, 1971. A man walked up to the Northwest Orient Airlines ticket counter at Portland International Airport. He paid cash for a one-way ticket to Seattle. The name he used, Dan Cooper. No identification was required. At the time, buying airline tickets with cash was completely normal. Airport security looked nothing like it does today.
There were no TSA checkpoints, no body scanners, no baggage screening.
According to witnesses, the man appeared to be in his mid-40s, around 6 feet tall, well-dressed, clean-shaven, with dark hair showing a little gray around the sides. Nothing about him attracted attention. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't in a hurry. In fact, he appeared unusually calm. At 2:50 p.m., Flight 305 lifted off from Portland. There were 36 passengers on board, along with 6 crew members. No one had any idea that history had just taken off with them.
But only minutes after takeoff, a single folded note would transform this ordinary flight into the only unsolved commercial airline hijacking in American history.
Shortly after takeoff, the man sitting in seat 18C quietly called one of the flight attendants. Her name was Florence Schaffner. Without raising his voice, he handed her a folded piece of paper. At first, she slipped it into her purse. She assumed it was another businessman trying to flirt. "Miss, you'd better look at that note." The man looked directly at her and calmly said, "Miss, you'd better look at that note."
She unfolded the paper.
It read, "I have a bomb." He then asked her to sit beside him. He then slowly opened his briefcase.
Inside, she later reported seeing what appeared to be red cylindrical objects connected by wires and a battery.
Whether it was a real bomb has never been confirmed.
But at that moment, she had no reason to doubt him. His voice remained calm. He never shouted. He never threatened the passengers. He simply explained what he wanted. $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, and a fuel truck waiting in Seattle. Investigators would later wonder, how could someone remain so calm during one of the most dangerous crimes in aviation history?
Was he trained? Had he served in the military?
Or was he simply a man who had rehearsed every second of this operation?
Edge here.
Mayday, Mayday, this is Flight 815. Experiencing dual engine failure. Without the passengers realizing it, the FBI, local police, and airline executives had already begun preparing for what would become one of the most extraordinary negotiations in American history.
As Flight 305 continued circling above Seattle, authorities below were racing against time. The next move would determine whether everyone on board survived.
While Flight 305 continued circling above Seattle, authorities below were racing against time.
Coordinate with Terminal 2!
The hijackers' demands were clear.
$200,000 in cash.
Parachutes.
Fuel truck waiting beside the aircraft. Inside FBI offices, agents immediately began organizing one of the fastest ransom operations in American history.
You now.
Banks across the Seattle area were contacted.
This is an urgent call.
Bundles of $20 bills were gathered as quickly as possible.
Before handing over the money, the FBI made one critical decision.
Every bill's serial number would be photographed and recorded. If the cash ever surfaced again, they wanted to know exactly where it came from. Meanwhile, most passengers had no idea a hijacking was taking place. Outside, police vehicles, FBI agents, airport staff, and emergency crews surrounded the runway.
Everyone knew.
One mistake could cost dozens of lives. Then came another surprising request. Not one parachute, not two, but 4. Investigators believed Cooper understood exactly how law enforcement would think. Whether this was his actual plan or simply coincidence remains one of the biggest unanswered questions in the case. Finally, at approximately 5:45 p.m., Flight 305 landed safely at Seattle-Tacoma Airport. The aircraft rolled slowly across the runway.
Then the 4 parachutes. 1, the passengers were released. Only the flight crew remained on board. Passengers gone, Cooper was ready for the final phase of his plan. The next takeoff would become one of the most mysterious flights in aviation history. With the passengers gone, only Cooper and the flight crew remained. Cooper ordered the pilots to prepare for another flight. His destination? Mexico City. One problem. The Boeing 727 couldn't reach Mexico without refueling.
Fuel's flight plan had a new plan.
Calculating range now. The aircraft departed Seattle flying south at a relatively low altitude with its landing gear partially extended. At 5,000. Captain, altitude is steady at 5,000. The aircraft continued at a slower speed than normal. Investigators later believed these conditions may have made a parachute jump possible. Outside darkness settled over the Pacific Northwest as heavy rain surrounded Flight 305. Strong winds shook the aircraft, yet inside the cabin Cooper remained remarkably calm. He heard the ransom money. He inspected the parachute. Then he quietly walked toward the rear staircase. For DB Cooper had only just begun. What investigators found next would become one of the largest manhunts in FBI history. Copy. Sector 2 is clear. When Flight 305 landed in Reno, armed FBI agents rushed aboard. They expected to find DB Cooper still inside the aircraft, but his seat was empty. The hacker was gone, the ransom money was gone, one parachute was missing. Only a black clip-on tie remained. Within hours, one of the largest manhunts in FBI history had begun. Agents, police, and military aircraft searched the Pacific Northwest. Helicopters scanned dense forests. Ground teams searched mountains, rivers, and deep valleys. Every possible landing area was investigated. Investigators faced one impossible problem. Nobody knew exactly where Cooper had jumped. Rain, wind, and darkness had erased almost every clue. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. No body, no parachute, no ransom. It was as if DB Cooper had disappeared forever. It had failed, but the investigation was far from over. Soon, hundreds of suspects would be examined, each one bringing new hope and new disappointment. The search had ended, but the investigation was only beginning. The FBI opened one of the largest suspect lists in its history. Hundreds of names would soon be examined. Suspects had military backgrounds. Others were experienced skydivers. Every possible lead was investigated. Fingerprints were analyzed. Handwriting samples were compared. Witness interviews continued for years, but every major lead reached another dead end. One suspect attracted enormous attention: Richard McCoy Jr. His hijacking looked remarkably similar to Cooper's. But investigators found important differences. The evidence didn't match. Richard McCoy was eliminated just like many others. Year after year, the suspect list kept growing, yet the true identity of D.B. Cooper remained unknown. Then, nearly 9 years later, an incredible discovery changed the investigation forever. Buried beneath the sand lay the first physical clue ever found, and it would shock the FBI. Nearly 9 years passed without a single breakthrough. Then, on February 10, 1980, an 8-year-old boy named Brian Ingram made an unexpected discovery along the Columbia River. Buried beneath the sand were bundles of badly decayed $20 bills. At first, no one realized what they had found. The money was turned over to investigators. The FBI compared the serial numbers and made an astonishing confirmation. Matched part of D.B. Cooper's ransom. It was the first physical evidence ever linked directly to the hijacking. But one question remained: how had the money reached the riverbank? Floods, natural movement, or had Cooper himself buried it there? But these paths suggest deliberate placement, unresolved. Even after the discovery, the mystery only grew deeper. Decades later, science would uncover another clue hidden in plain sight. For decades, the tie had been sitting in FBI evidence storage. For decades, Cooper's black clip-on tie remained locked inside FBI evidence storage. Then, modern forensic technology gave investigators a second chance. Using powerful microscopes, scientists examined tiny particles trapped inside the tie's fabric. Investigators reported finding unusual microscopic metal particles, including titanium and other industrial materials. Their exact significance remains uncertain.
And other industrial materials are on the report.
Let's check the evidence table. Some researchers suggested these particles might reflect the environment where Cooper once worked. No occupation was ever proven. Despite decades of investigation, no DNA match has ever identified D.B. Cooper with certainty. Even with today's technology, one question still remains. Who was D.B. Cooper? And did he survive the jump? The evidence revealed possibilities, but not answers. The biggest question was still waiting. Did D.B. Cooper survive that jump? For more than 50 years, one question has never been answered. Did D.B. Cooper survive the jump? The truth remains unknown. Experts believe the jump was nearly impossible. Freezing temperatures, powerful winds, darkness, and rugged wilderness created extreme conditions. Others argue Cooper appeared prepared. He chose the aircraft, selected the flight conditions, and requested parachutes. Some believe those decisions suggest careful planning. Despite thousands of hours of searching, no confirmed body, parachute, or complete ransom money has ever been recovered. Because of the missing evidence, both possibilities remain alive. He may have survived, or he may have been lost in the wilderness. No final answer has ever been proven. Whether D.B. Cooper escaped or vanished forever, his identity remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. More than half a century later, the mystery still refuses to die. More than 50 years have passed, yet the true identity of D.B. Cooper remains unknown. The mystery has outlived generations of investigators. In 2016, after decades of investigation, the FBI officially closed its active investigation. But the mystery itself was never solved. Even today, researchers, journalists, and amateur investigators continue searching for answers. New theories appear, but no one has proven who Cooper really was. The D.B. Cooper case changed aviation security forever. Airport screening became stricter, aircraft procedures evolved. The mystery left a lasting impact far beyond the hijacking itself. Some believe Cooper escaped. Others believe he never survived the jump. Until new evidence appears, both possibilities remain unproven. Perhaps the greatest mystery isn't how D.B. Cooper disappeared, but why no one has ever been able to prove what truly happened. Until that day comes, the legend of D.B. Cooper lives on. This documentary is based on publicly available historical records, official investigations, and credible research. Some events are presented as cinematic reconstructions where direct visual evidence does not exist. The identity and ultimate fate of D.B. Cooper remain officially unconfirmed.